Aeronautica is a fantastic game. The gameplay is cinematic and engaging, the models are beautiful and are easy to get looking great. Don't need a ton of scenery, just a board, so you're able to get a great experience very easily. If you read any reviews of the game, one thing that always seems to come up is the comparison to X-Wing. Not really a surprise, as both sit in the sci-fi fighter plane niche, and indeed both are originally based on the World War I game Wings of War. One critique of Aeronautica, when compared to X-Wing, is how much freedom you have in where the aircraft ends up after you've revealed the maneuver, compared to X-Wing, where the exact position is locked in. I'm not averse to having some leeway, but one aspect of the Aeronautica movement rules bothers me, so much so I'm beginning to wonder if it was actually intended. To explain this, let's have a look through the movement rules. Here we have our Thunderbolt fighter. There are 8 possible maneuvers an aircraft can be given, all listed on the handy sheet. To select the maneuver, we choose the token corresponding and place it next to the aircraft. Then when we get to the step where we move the aircraft, we reveal the token and follow the maneuver. In this case we pick the 6, which is the Stoop maneuver. The steps for completing this maneuver are as follows. Step 1. Select a direction. Here you can see the aircraft can go left or right as it starts the maneuver. Step 2. Movement. The aircraft must move forward at least 1 square, but can use as much of its speed as desired. Then we end up in that first dashed line hex. Step 3. Maneuver. We adjust the facing based on the new hex. So here, there's no choice, we're back facing the original direction. Step 4. Repeat. Stoop has 2 hexes to change direction from, the second and the last hex. For many maneuvers, there's just a start and a finish hex, but in this case, we complete the movement maneuver steps again, ending up on the last hex and facing in one of the 4 options. Now, step 5 is what I want to focus on today. If an aircraft does not move the number of hexes equal to its current speed, which you would have adjusted just before we started working through the sequence, it must do so now. So any movement left over must be taken at the end. The problem here is being able to move after the maneuver opens up a ton of options and gives the aircraft a lot of freedom. Let's look at an example. This is the Thunderbolt Fury, the workhorse of the Imperial Navy. It has a throttle of 2, which means it can adjust its speed up or down by 2 each turn. It has a minimum speed of 2 hexes, max of 6, and can take any of the first 6 maneuvers. The next few examples assume the aircraft is starting at speed 3, so it can throttle up as far as 5 or down as far as 2 speed. This is what level flight looks like. From the image on the card, it looks like you're just going straight forward. But as you can adjust the direction at the end of level flight, and then punch your remaining speed into that new direction, you end up with a ton of options. This is what it would look like if we removed that last step and you had to spend all of your speed in the maneuver, a lot more like we would have expected. Similarly, this is maneuver 2, the Swoop. Ironically, if we wanted to go forward, this might be a better option than level flight, as although we can't end up in a center line, it does have more options forward facing. This is what it would look like if we removed the last step, again looking a lot more predictable. This is maneuver 3, before, and then after, and then this maneuver 4 snap, and then the after. Then we have 5, which is the stall turn, before and after, and last 6 is the Stoop. This is the before, and then this is the after. Okay, let's put all of these together. So this is the current range of options that Thunderbolt at speed 3 has. A ton of different locations and orientations. If we remove that last step, then we go down to this. Big difference, but you're still getting to the majority of squares you'd expect to. So we're reducing the amount of freedom you have after the reveal, but still retaining a lot of the freedom in the maneuver selection. Things get a little bit more interesting for the slower and less maneuverable models. In this case we have the Marauder Bomber. You'd expect these to be slow and lumbering, with only ace maneuvers 1, 2 and 3, but they can actually be quite nimble due to that step 5 movement. Here the real limitation is the throttle 1, which means the bomber starting on speed 3 only has 2, 3 and 4 speeds as options. If we take away the last step, then we're left with this. A lot more predictable for the enemy pilot. Many of the moves from before would now take 2 turns to complete, but I think this is reasonable, especially as this is supposed to be one of the least maneuverable aircraft in the game. And that's it. The goal here isn't to make Aeronautica X-Wing. They're both great games in their own right, but I think we could see from the diagrams that there is a lot of freedom after the maneuvers are revealed, and that particular criticism is maybe valid. This small change doesn't massively alter the game. Indeed, I suspect most players play it that way already. If you wanted to limit this even further, you could add a second token that you place at the same time as the maneuvers, indicating whether you're going right or left, or starboard or port. Then the only adjustments after placing the maneuver would be with the throttle and the final orientation. This would shift the tactical emphasis of the game from who can act last in the movement phase to who can plan better in the choose maneuvers phase. Maybe I'm wrong though. If you can think of a reason that making this change would be a bad idea, please post it in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and comment.